How is it going, people of YouTube? Coming at you today with another MotoVlog. Today I didn't want to try to entertain you like I usually fail to do, but wanted to inform you a little bit. And this video is mainly aimed towards beginner riders like myself, but I guess it could be useful for you more experienced riders too. You guys already know this information that I'm gonna breathe out of my lungs and through my throat hole, but you can strap on in and listen. So let's get right into it. Top 5 beginner mistakes. These 5 things are things that I've noticed myself doing, and I figure by pointing out my flaws it might help some other people. These are going to be in no specific order, but we'll try to see what we can do here. So, numero uno, right here. If you haven't ridden a motorcycle before and only driven cars or nothing at all, I guess, you're probably not used to the turning signal mechanism on motorcycles. And most motorcycles are like this, where they have the switch right here by the left thumb. So the motorcycle turning signal mechanism doesn't have an auto-off function like you do in a car. The reasoning behind this is that motorcycle steering racks, while cornering, you don't actually turn the rack that much. It's more of leaning than turning. So it's difficult for the manufacturer to have a sensor to auto-off your turn signal, so you have to do it yourself. So when you first start riding, it's kind of hard to remember to turn your turn signals off. I mean, you don't want to get in the habit of having your turn signal on too much. The people behind you could get very confused. And if you're confusing the people behind you, they'll likely get mad at you and start doing stupid things. Shit. Ugh. Another big beginner mistake is throttle control. Especially when you're a beginner and don't have your balance learned yet. You have to make sure that your throttling is consistent through turns and when you're shifting gears like that. Beginner mistake number 3. I would have to say the third biggest mistake that a lot of beginners do is not getting the bike that fits them, both with their needs and their uses. Now I chose this CB5. God, ugh, it's windy. I chose this CB500X because I figured I'd be riding some off-road, but mainly on-road, and that's kind of what this form factor gives. But if you plan on riding mainly off-road, you can either look at buying a strictly off-road bike and just not riding it on the road, or buying a dual sport, something that's more 70-30, 70% on the road and 30% off the road. So definitely do your research before you go out and buy. If you want a street only bike, I'd stick with something under 600 cc's. A lot of people say that the 600 cc's make great beginner bikes, but I feel like if you're straight up a beginner, it might be a little bit too much power, because one twist of the throttle could basically end it for you there. See that turn signal, you gotta make sure that you turn the dang turn signal off. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm making these mistakes. I currently make these mistakes. But here's the next beginner mistake that I've made, many other people make. This is one of the bigger flaws and the more dangerous flaws that you can do as a motorcycle rider. I've found myself doing it, and it's easy to correct, but also very, very easy to do if you're not paying attention. This issue is known as target fixation, and it's when you're in the middle of a turn, and instead of looking through the turn like you're supposed to, you're looking on the other side of the road, or in the middle of the other lane, or at a car coming towards you. Just by looking at that object, it makes your body have an impulse to drive towards that object. It's kind of like when you're in a car, you look on the side of the road, and you start drifting into the right side of your lane if you're looking right, and the left side of the lane if you're looking left. To fix this, I've found that by slowly letting off the throttle just a little bit, and turning your head, looking through the turn like you're supposed to, usually solves the problem. If you absolutely have to, straighten the bike up, make sure no one's behind you, and stop. Anything you can do to avoid an accident, you should do. Here's the number 5 beginner mistake that I've made. Now, on a side note, I had some experience behind the handlebars of a vehicle. I'd never rode a motorcycle before in my life, but I had rode four-wheeler all my life, like I mentioned in a previous video. And because I had rode four-wheeler throughout my life, I think it helped me as a beginner. So here's my tip. When you first get your bike, I know you're going to want to get out and ride it. Get out on the streets and ride it. But I really strongly advise not to do this. I did this a few days after I bought my bike, and it was nice to get out and kind of just get a feel for things by stepping your foot in the water. But it's also kind of dangerous. It could be really dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But if you have like no idea how to operate a clutch, or no idea what your controls are at all, if you can't find your turning signals, stuff like that, it could be very dangerous. So this is what I advise doing, is just going to an empty parking lot. If you have to drive it there, then do so. But just go to an empty parking lot in your town or city and start practicing all the things that you would normally do on the street with cars around you. For example, get to know your steering rack, get to know where your horn is, get to know where your turn signals are, understand where your four-ways are just in case, make sure you can take off from a standing position at a stop sign, both on a hill if that's possible, and on flat ground. Mainly, what you want to focus on, I think, is just clutch work. In my opinion, that can get you in the biggest trouble on a motorcycle. I would say spend like an hour doing this in the parking lot, and once you feel like you have an okay grasp on what you're doing, then you can start going out on back roads like this one where there's no traffic, if that's possible for you. If none of these options are available to you, and even if they are, I recommend getting into an MSF course. It's a safety course for motorcycles. It's free, they supply the bikes, and it's like a 2-day course over a weekend usually. And I'm kind of a hypocrite by saying this because I haven't taken mine yet. I plan on taking mine in the summer because that's the time it's offered in my area. I feel like even as a novice rider, not such a beginner but a novice, holy shit, is that a wolf? That's a goddamn wolf. As a novice rider even, I feel like you could learn something from going to the MSF course. I'm basing this off of the fact that so many of YouTubers and so many people on the internet have the same opinion as myself. So yeah, there it was, guys. That's the top 5 beginner mistakes, and also how to correct them, I suppose. But just remember, I'm still a beginner. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. And you should definitely do more research other than this video if you want to learn how to ride safe. the number one thing you can do is just get out and ride. Start slow, continue slow. Just kind of get a feel for it. That'll be all for today, guys. Check out the previous videos. We'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to get out there and ride. Peace out.